Hello everyone. I hope you're doing fine. My name is Jeff Blanco. I'm going to record this video just to explain different things related to second language acquisition because I wanted to make this video. I also have to make it because of my master's degree, but I'm doing it because I wanted to upload it to YouTube. So I'm going to do it like very professionally. I'm going to explain different things that I consider important and mainly and as the base of this presentation, we're going to be talking a little bit about the theories presented by Krashen about second language acquisition, okay? And why I learned a lot of things from this, basically, okay? So let me just present and we're going to start right now, okay? So let me just change this. There you go. So as matter of the principle or starting from the beginning, first it is important to acknowledge that second language acquisition it's a process and not a goal. I don't know if I'm explaining myself. It's a process that takes place on between the teacher and the learner and it's not a goal just to arrive to. I'm going to explain it later, okay? So I'm going to be answering this question. The first question is basically, what theoretical foundations underlying my pedagogical practice as a language instructor and researcher? Uh, base, sorry. Basically, my foundations are what I've received from school, what I've received from high school, what I've received from university. But I consider that people always have to go through a process, right? It's not something that we just come up with, or it's not something that we just acquire because of that's it. So, as part of the practice, I really believe that the learner has to be like a person. Sorry, the teacher has to be a person that facilitates or that puts that knowledge that he or she has under the disposition of the learner. And we cannot just overdo that or overcome uh, the frustration that the learner can have by just telling them it's the goal to learn. That's how it is. No, there's always plenty ways. So I would say that my theoretical foundations are based on these three that we can see here, and the ones that I consider the most important. Number one, it's the acquisition learning distinction. I am a really believer that a kid learns different from a teenager, and a teenager learns different from an adult. Um, However, language is language, right? And which is the main goal of language? Communication. So we cannot just place it aside. I don't know if I'm explaining myself um correctly, but basically I consider that all process of learning a second language, a third language, a fourth language, any kind of language that is not your native language, and even your native language, start from the beginning. You cannot start running, you cannot start from the middle and then go backwards and then go move forward. That's not how it works. But kids, teenagers, and adults have different conditions and different perspectives related to their experience, and that's why their process is different. On the reading that we had to read for this week, there was something that was called the acquisition device that children have, or the language acquisition device, if I'm mistaken, which I do not consider it like 100% sure if it exists. The theory says that there is this learning acquisition device, um, but I think the difference between the teaching a kid, teaching a teenager, and teaching an adult, it's basically the teacher itself, because we tend to think that okay, a teenager needs to go to structures. His understanding of the language is better than the kids understanding, and then we go to the adults and we say okay, the experience of the adult it's even bigger than the teenager and bigger than the kids, so we cannot start from the basics. From my perspective and my experience as a professor, we always have to treat people as if they were kids in order to teach them move forward from there, okay? So that's well, I think that's the one of the main, even if they are different, obviously they have different experiences, different situations, different motivations to learn the language. We always have to follow the same pattern, I would say. even if some people say that there's a different pattern. The reading mentioned that there's a different pattern to learn the language. I would say that we need to create a very strong base and then move forward to the complexity of the language, always looking for the communicative uh, approach or the communicative end, that it's people can communicate through the language. Second one, it's well, the input theory, in which actually everyone gets gets information. Why? Okay, that's like the main thing. We all are input animals, I would say, or input individuals. We need input. Without the correct input, we're not going to be able to produce. We're not going to be able to have an output. So the one of the theories that have for well, I have trying to keep on my life as a teacher, um, basically is we have to give students input so they can put out some output. If we don't give them input, how can we expect some output from them? And I'm going again to the other one, which is the input that I consider the most important. Well, we need to give them a base. Once the learner understand the base, the first part, which is giving them the information, then they analyze it, they comprehend that information, and then they're able to produce it, to output that language from their minds. So yes, I think the input theory it's really good. First teaching the student this is this, and this plus this is this, and that, but also that repertoire that it's created in the people's mind, in this learner's mind, needs to be consistent and really needs to be valuable for the learner. Or probably we're going to go to the third theory, which is the effective filter hypothesis, in which students lose motivation and they're not moving forward to what learning the language basically, okay, means. So the third one, in which I consider that it's one of the most important parts also, even if all of them have different characteristics, I personally do not like to stick to one of them personally and just believe one and that's it. No, I think all of them have, all theories have some kind of reason, and that's why the theory is there, right? So the third one says that the effective filter hypothesis, in which students need to feel motivated, they need to feel confident, and they need to reduce the anxiety and the overthinking process so they can learn the language better, they can acquire the language better, which is actually mainly truth. However, sometimes due to some people, some teachers face or mainly focused on the first theory, which is the acquisition learning distinction, they forget the effective filter. So they tend to overwhelm the students, to burn them out. Basically, they overclock that system of the students, and they make them lose motivation, and sometimes they make that makes them feel not confident. They lose confidence on the language, so they don't produce. They have this rejection towards the language, which I think it's not something that should happen. The second question: how have these theories, principles, and or hypotheses shaped my thoughts and practice in terms of second language learning and acquisition? Really simple. As a teacher, I have learned that the comprehension of the language is the main thing. So I try to promote my classes focused on comprehension rather than learning structures just because they have to. By memorizing, that's not the idea. They have to memorize certain things, but it's better if they understand them and they apply them after they get the meaning of everything. So my practices have changed, and I've learned that my practice is really different from the rest of the teachers. As I said before, I focus my classes on understanding rather than memorizing. So memorization is a practice that needs to be there, but I follow the path of comprehension and students understanding how can they use the language itself, which actually have led me to change my didactic materials, and I create different ways to approach this methodology that I am looking for, right? Which is comprehension rather than just memorization. And as a researcher, I have developed a really strong critical thinking. I think that along the years, I have always seen these theories, people saying, okay, you have a silent period, and there's people that don't talk. I think silent period, sometimes it's suggested, and people tend to get into the silent period because they are not understanding the meaning, or they're not understanding what it's been taught. And the professor say, oh, okay, this is a bad student because he's in the silent period. That's not true. You need to be critical about it. You know, there's plenty theories, but however, and you shouldn't, I don't know, but however, you should take your students as a person. Think about them as if they were someone that is trying to learn something that it's not comprehensible yet. So you need to move forward to that. Okay. I have also learned in my research career that there are different perspectives, and that's not wrong. Different differences is what makes research valuable, and that's what makes it possible to reach, right? So I think theories, hypotheses, principles, every single thing have built what I am as a researcher, and have helped me get eager to write and to do research on my students and research on myself, because I have done research on myself too. And that's like the things that I consider that have impacted me the most. So why I think Kranz's theory on second language acquisition is still crucial until this day on language context? Well, it's really simple. First of all, even though sometimes we can consider that this theory is not the best one, or it's not correct to what we see or what we believe, it's the base, okay? So you need somewhere to begin from to move forward to the world of theories, right? So I think Kranz's theory, it's like the best base that you can have because the 5 things apply to nowadays learning, nowadays realia. So you can go ahead and try to put it in practice, or actually first, I would not tell you to go and put it in practice first. Go and observe, and then you can see if you can put it in practice or not, or see how it works to other people, and then you can take your own conclusions about it. So I think it's very accurate to the reality we have nowadays. Some people, as I said before, focus their classes on just one, when I personally think that 5 of them needs to be mixed and need to be taken out of the box and figure it out in which way would work better for the class that you're teaching, because not all classes are the same. I think that this theory, the Krashen's theory, has the principles. So as a matter of fact, you need the principles in order to go and move forward to create your own knowledge. So the principles of the Krashen's theory, it's like, as I said, it's the base. It's accurate to nowadays. It has the principles. You need to start overthinking about it, and it works in most of the language contexts. So even though if it's a really old theory and it has been there for plenty years, I think due to the language contexts and how we're teaching not only English, Spanish, French, German, and everything, it has some kind of accurate points in each of them. So I think that's why it is crucial in most language contexts, because of the language context that we're living in now, language context teaching, right? So have Krashen's 5 hypotheses for second language acquisition influence my pedagogical practice? I think I've already mentioned it, so I don't want to get into it. But I want to mention that not all people learn the same way. But and as I said before, even if not all people learn the same way, language always needs to go from low to up. We cannot start from the middle, go low, and then go back, because that's gonna be messy. Our students, sometimes they don't know anything about English. They sometimes don't even care about it. So you need to start making some value, adding vocabulary, adding the base of it, so that students can get motivated and see, okay, this works for me. There's not only one way. Don't focus. There are 5 hypotheses presented by Krashen's don't go just for one. I think there are five, so you can take five and create your own one that has different characteristics from all of them and that applies better for your class. And last but not least, I think input is not equal to learning. So putting your students into the fire site is not it's not gonna make them learn anything. So you can, for example, if a student doesn't know the numbers, and you can teach him how to, I don't know, how to say his age, which was one of the cases that I had. One student said, okay, I have a medium level English, and I started teaching him medium level grammar structures. And once he came to me and said, Professor, I don't know how to say my age. And I was like, why don't you don't know? No, Professor, I knew how to say it last year, but I don't know this year how to say it. And I was like, Jesus Christ, it's just one number. It's exactly the same, but see how I don't know, structural, like stone is in our system, that he didn't know how to say his age just because of 1 year of difference. That was one number. He said he was a medium level student. So input is not equal to learning. Learning is understanding, comprehending, finding our students comfortable point for them to express in this second language, and that's it. I think that's how it is. Well, thank you very much. I hope you liked it and it helped you. And if it helped, I would really appreciate if you give it a like button. And if not, thank you very much. See you next time. Bye bye. Take care.